doing? Can you hear me? Check S, bro. Steve, you can. All right, let's go. Let's go. Take a look at disclosure. Let's get to it. This is the little recap happy hour. What up, everyone? My name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Lab.com. Welcome to today's recap slash happy hour. It's been a week, right? Let me say hello to everyone who's here first. Let me bring the virtual trading floor over. All right, I'm doing this for, I think, all of T3. Whoever wants to hang out, that's cool. Who do we got? Who do we got? Let's go. Let's go. Let's start through and say, where are we from? Where's everyone from on the VTF? Let's go. Existing members, those who are just joining us, where are we at? Where do we live? All right, we got JPP from New York City. We got RJ from New Jersey. We got Huntington Beach in the house, Las Vegas. We got LA, Springfield, Illinois, Puerto Viejo, Kentucky. I can't say that. Tennessee, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Long Branch, Minnesota, Boulder. All right, I got a very, very important question. Does everybody have a beverage? I am thirsty. Here, you know what? I got this Lagunitas Little Something IPA, so that's what I'm going with. I'm going with a little IPA. Usually this is a red glass with water. Okay. You don't have to have alcohol. I'm not a pusher. Whatever you're drinking, tell me what you're drinking out there. You guys want to hear this? Here it goes. This is always good. There we got a little Sam Adams Oktoberfest. All right, got Jameson. Okay. We got sparkling water. We got a little Malbec. You from Argentina for a little Malbec? Kombucha. Okay, water's good. Everything's good. I haven't had a drink most of this week. Even at the golf outing on Monday, I didn't have a really big drink because I had to drive me and my dad home. A little vodka and water. Okay, it's Thursday night. It's September. It's the fall. We're cool. I'm not saying you're not cool if you don't have a drink, but, Dan, why are you having coffee? It's all right. So let me let the foam go down a little bit. Let's see how many people we got tuning in here. There's 510 people right now on the Alpha team and trials. That's cool. You're an excellent driver when you're drinking. Only if you're in the driveway. I'm an excellent driver in the driveway. Anyone know what movie that is? Come on. Who's first? Chris Pacifico? Rain Man, there you go. Some people think I'm a little like Rain Man with all the stuff that I do, etc., etc. Oh yeah, you could drink and drive in an autonomous driving vehicle. There you go. Well, first of all, when I did go to the Ukraine 4 times before the Russian bastards invaded, and did what they did, I was there to coach a lot of times. And the first time I was in Ukraine in 2014, had about 100 Ukrainians. I had to do a shot with every single one of them, by the way. But the thing they did is they took a glass or a shot after they did the shot, and they said, here's the technical analysis that unites continents. So the circle means we're all one circle, and everyone put the glass around their head. So if you could do that from wherever desk you're in, here's to the virtual trading floor and the Alpha team and the open house that's unite continents. Cheers. All around the country, all around the world. It's the beauty of this market and technologies. We could all be in a virtual trading floor together. Cheers. Not so bad. Not so bad. Anyway, I appreciate all you guys taking Skol. All right, yeah, let's think of how many different ways could you say cheers. L'chaim. I like Skol. Ever see the Vikings? That's fun. Salamati? Okay. I guess that's Iranian. Prost? I like that. All right, Kempe. Santi? Salante? L'chaim. All right, salud. Skol. Okay, I can't. Centro Ani. What's that? What language is that? Sante. I guess we have a lot of different languages here. So, to everyone, again, we all speak different languages, but there is a language, again, that unites continents, and that's technical analysis, that's the stock market, that's a routine, that's a process, that's hard work, that's like-minded individuals that try and go through life, have some fun, and make some money. There's good times, there's bad times, there's highs, there's lows. We try not to let our highs get too high, our lows get too low, and just figure it out. I say this 3, 4 times a year where you can make really good pockets of money, and you got to strike when the iron's hot. You have to think clearly so you can execute on the X's and O's, which is why I have Red Dog Mindset also that I've developed through the course of these 30 years. So this way, when your stock triggers, the patterns ignite, you're not a shell of yourself and you're ready to roll. So with that being said, people have been here for a long time. Once they come to the Alpha team, hopefully they stay and they see the consistency. Some guys, sometimes you start at a certain point and the market kind of sucks and you're getting a little bit of hole. You're like, Red Dog, what's going on here? Why? I thought you were great. I'm like, well, I'm not great. I'm good. I'm consistent. I work hard. I put a lot of things out there, but you need a good market to make money. And sometimes not losing money is a great market. So I do think what's going on here, which is great is, once you find the Alpha team, you rarely leave it, unless you go back to work or you get a job and you're not using it as much. So how many years for those on the Alpha team have you been here? Let's see who's the longest. Who's got it? I've been following you for years. That's great. Paul's been on for four-ish. Four-ish, that's a long time. So you've been around since after the 2020. Ryan B, you've known me for 10 plus years, since May. Dan the Man. Dan the Man's new since May. You've probably had a pretty good run. Wow, Bobby's been 4 years. He came to the Redler Ultimate Access in New York City. We did a little schwitz in the Fulton Bathhouse and went to Carmine's for dinner. RJ's been following since I don't like the word following. It's like we all exist together. We all add value, hopefully, to each other. That's why I don't say on Twitter, it's not my followers. It's a community of individuals that interact together and try and add value. But yes, there's a lot of great memories. It's funny. I always said, like, who the hell is going to come spend 4 days with me? Like 15 people did. We had a great time and almost created friends for life. Got to get out. You got to see people. You got to do things. Anna Bush, 2 weeks, and these past 2 weeks have been the best in a while. Really got me back on track. I have to say, Adam, every 2 weeks isn't like this. This was a really good 2 weeks. I got back to the highs of my year and month yesterday, and today I pushed through it. Like I broke the ceiling. And that was after going back and forth like 3 times this quarter. I get paid by the quarter, not by the month. So this way, I could be a little looser. I'm not worried the last few days of the month, etc. So this way I could always do the right trade at the right time versus counting the money. I found you on Twitter in 2019, and you had a sick call on Beyond Meat. Crazy how things change, right? Beyond Meat, I don't know, what is it, $3 now? And the 630 Club, that's cool. Lincoln's been 9 years. I've known Amber forever. Lane's been for 1. I feel like I know you for a lot longer than 1 year, Lane. Lane's been through a lot of adversity. Lane is, a seasoned veteran, kind of thing where if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger, and you move on and you learn, you get gratitude, and you just do it. Can you guys hear the little 80s rock? Can you hear that? I don't care. I don't care if YouTube turns it off because I'm just hanging out with you guys. That's why I'm here. Everybody tore up the GI contract and nasty stuff. What's your name, prop girl? What's up, Derek? All right, 630 Club. That's cool. Pamela. What movie was that? Ah, Pamela. You Pamela Anderson? Right? Did you see, what was that, Borat? It's nice. Exactly, Jimmy Mint. All right, so here's what I want to do a little bit. I feel like yesterday I went over a lot of reasons why I was in a bunch of trades, and I try and be in trades for a reason. Some of you guys have been, some of you are in your 20s, some of you are in your 30s, some of you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Let's ask how old everyone is. All right, I could say I'm 52. I'm going to be 53 on 9/21. I know I look really good for my age. Okay, 53, 70, 67. Come on, PP, you're not 12. 35, 57, there's no cynicism. 69, 60, 32, 59, 41. A lot of experience on this Alpha team. 51, 61, 50. So I attract the boomers, like my age. It's great. Watch 630 Club since 2020, post 10 down. I am 28 and can also say you changed my life, Scott, and I thank you. I love that, Zebra Trader. A lot of pressure out there, right? You got 50. Congratulations, Joe T. Hope you did something fun. I went to Colombia for my 50th with 12 guys. We did a lot of deep sea fishing. Anyway, Jimmy Min, you're 56. Well, who else? Raul's on a 54. 8, All right, PJ, it's okay. 20 years ago. There you go. 32 years. All right, so what I want to do is, I think a good way to kind of go through, a little bit about my process is go through like kind of like the history of what I've done, or not what I've done, or how I've created my roadmap for success. So I'm gonna talk about that, and so you guys can learn. Maybe I'll learn how to tell a story here and there. So that's what I'm gonna do for right now. You guys can see real quickly. I'll go through a few little things right now with a little recap. Today the spies had a little bit of a doji, hit 664.88, right? Um, Came up and below, a little bit extended, not the end of the world. Tested the 8-day yesterday. Lots of things. Um, Intel, I will say, was awesome. Intel just goes to show you sometimes. This is the first time it kind of really happened to me where I was in a situation that worked out better than I would have imagined. Um, I did have 3 times as many calls because I did buy the calls here, down here. So when that happened, I got rid of some just to take some, and thank goodness I held some. And now what's the low here? This is 30.16. So some people are like, how could I play Intel now? Well, you could play versus gap pivot. If this is going to be special and work towards 33 to 36 or whatever it is, it's going to hold this gap pivot just like an earnings play. What was today's high? Today's high was 32.38. So if you think Intel, which has a really, really low PE, which has been out of play for a gazillion years, is going to continue, you have 32. What's that? 32. I have to say I sold the majority of my calls for $6. So from 35 cents yesterday to $6. That's pretty cool. Anyone ever get a trade like that? 30 cents to $6? Anyway, so before we get into individual questions, so that's what Intel looks like moving forward. I know Tesla was a little weaker today. Not the end of the world. Some people ask me about Tesla. Tesla did open up. You had a way to sell it, so you could have sold some strength. Didn't hold this 428. Came in. Not the greatest candle in the world, but I would get a little bit weary if all of a sudden it started breaking this. That would mean you have to be a little careful. You got to be careful buying calls out a little bit, and just means the momentum trade will slow down a little bit. This is 411.43. So, again, from buying at 355 to a high of 432 today, not so bad and not the end of the world. Look where the 8-day, it's very extended. It's just a matter of the speed of the next move, coming in here. So at this point, we'll see how it goes. I tried to trade around it as much as possible. I lost a little bit of money. It could have been worse. And we'll move on. You got a similar trade in NVIDIA 2 years ago, May earnings. Cool, $8,000 overnight. That doesn't suck. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go, tomorrow's morning call, I'm going to go over where things are at, where the futures are at. I'll go through all the different names. What I want to do is I want to go here for a second, and I want to talk about, my life. So this is Redler Premium. By the way, this is where I put the same 40 charts, by the way, the same 40 charts that I put in the alerts, which are right here, I put on Redler All Access. So these 40 charts are here, and they also go to Redler All Access, which isn't sitting all day long on the VTF. Some people are like, what's the difference between the VTF and Redler All Access? Well, the VTF, you sit here all day long. You watch the positions go in and out. The Redler Premium gets my note. A lot of people in Redler Premium, they don't trade for a living. They just kind of want to know, some really specific thoughts and make a little cash flow in conjunction with their jobs. So with that being said, that's what that is. And then you have Redler, then you have the, the new product, which we were never able to do before, which we are allowed now, which is a Tell Me product, which is power plays, stock and options, where, maybe you don't trade full time for a living, and maybe you don't, or maybe you just want to be kind of told what to do, and it sends you an email, what to buy, how we piece you out. But it's always not say it's late, but I need a little confirmation. So if you see something pop up here that's new in the alpha team, 2 hours later, it could be up a bunch, and all of a sudden now it feels real. Then I send it out as a power play. It's got to go through compliance. So it makes a lot of sense to be here, in the alpha team. And then if you also want to do the power plays, that's cool too. So anyway, so here's Redler Premium. So what I posted here is my roadmap. Okay, so basically, a lot of people are like, "You've been doing this for a long time. Let me just before, I get to your questions. Just tell me about like your, the winding road of being a trader and how you create cash flow from being a trader, and then how do you invest for the long term. For when I'll always be a trader, but use the income from trading to invest for the long term. So now I have the luxury of being the chief strategic officer, and I'm also the founding partner. So besides being a trader, which a lot of you are, I have a salary and I also get a bonus based on the business besides my quarterly trading. So from the salary, I could put money away as if like so. Just say I'll get to that. You're working as a doctor or a lawyer or a fireman or a policeman. Just say you have a salary. Then I would tell you to max out your 401k and save for the long term. And then if you're listening here, that means you're trying to create excess money, which is what I do quarterly through trading. So I create money quarterly through trading, which if I could do really well there, that those are my shots in the arm. So I have my trading money and I have my base. So I know it's for a trader. Some of you aren't doctors, lawyers, and you're professional traders. You don't have the luxury of a salary, so you really, I really commend you and I really respect you because I know how hard it could be. If you don't make money for a month or two, and you're draining your savings account a little bit. I've been there before. I know that it could get stressful and it's hard. So that's why I never wish bad on anyone because, that's how a lot of people have been out of the business where you lose for 3, 4 months and then you're like, holy cow, how do I pay my bills and this and that. So for those of you who trade for a living, cheers to you. For those of you who don't have a job or a different source of income, you know what? It's tough. I get it. That's the way, I actually, when I first, so let's backtrack. So when I first started, okay, at Broadway Trading, I was emceeing bar mitzvahs. So I do tell a lot of individuals that are young, in their 20s, when they're trying to figure it out as a prop trader and they're just day trading, I'm like, it doesn't hurt to have another job. So while I was learning at Broadway Trading on the Mark Sperling, I was doing 3 bar mitzvahs on a weekend that was paying me $300 a bar mitzvah. So I was making $900 on the weekends or something like that, making decent money. So for the 6 months that you don't really make money when you're learning as a trader, I was able to still live a decent life living in the city because I had something else. I tell someone if they're just starting trading, don't quit your day job. Do a little bit of both before you figure it out because if you're too stressed out and you're trying to manufacture money, it's going to be hard to make it as a trader. So with that being said, when I first started, I had an active account. So most guys, when they first start, they have an active account and they try and day trade only. And you want to make a few $100s a day and just get consistent, learn how things move, get your go-to list, and learn. I always say do start small. Start friggin' small. So this way, by the time you get it, you're not in the deep hole. I'm going to bring this over here right now. Who here, okay, when they first started trading, wishes, we're not talking stocks right now, started smaller? Who wishes they said, hey, I would have listened to Red Dog. If I would have started smaller, I would have been in a less of a hole before I finally had to get it and make it back? Or did everyone just become millionaires in the first year? All right, so Winnetip says me, Dana P says me, I started selling calls and puts while still working. Yes, Michelle understood. I was landscaping in the moment, no 401k. A lot of whipsaws, 22 plus, but horsework. Okay. All right, so I would say if you're starting out in the first year, keep it small. You might have some success in the first few months and think you're a rock star and you're a prodigy. Chances are you're not. You just caught a really good, you caught a really good time frame in the market. So don't get ahead of yourself. So I would say, you want to start small, and a lot of people start day trading. So I would say when I started in the year 2000 with the Nasdaq going from, where it was to 5,000, and then from 5,000 to 1,000, I was day trading mostly. So typically what happens is after a year or two, okay, of day trading, okay, I started to create a swing trading account because I started to be in positions that I liked. I would get flat overnight and then it would gap up the next day and I'd be upset that I didn't have them. So had to start small, day trading and then swing trading. So I developed a process saying, hey, you want to swing trade long when what? I think a lot of you guys know, a lot of, a lot of my methodologies. So I'm just going to run through them. So when you're swing trading a stock that you're long, what should it be? What should it be? Anybody? If you're in an active long, where is it? There you go, Anthony. It's above the 8 and 21 day. So when the SPYs or the S&P, the Qs, or the S&P cash are above the 8 and 21 day, you're looking for swing trades. You're looking to find the best acting stocks that are showing relative strength, and you're swing trading. So when we're in a good trending market, and you're seasoned enough, what you could do is you could have an active account and a swing account. You could have both of them working. When we're below the 821 day and there's volatility and the market's in a corrective phase and we're going to the downside, I have no swing longs on. You could have swing shorts, but I'm just not that good at that. So I have none, and I'm just day trading. So I'm day trading more when we're below the 821 day, because then you could test the 50 day, the 100 day, the 200 day, and I am swing trading more with day trading, when I'm holding multiple positions, kind of like what I have here. I have less on than I've had during the course of this big run, but most of these names I all have a reason for. So how long do you hold your swing trading ideas? So by the way, my swing trade could be 1 to 3 days. It could be 1 to 3 weeks or 1 to 3 months. If it's trending and you get paid to buy a dip, you get paid to trade through a bull flag, and you get paid to sell some into strength and then buy it back, swing trades can go for a long time. This active sequence in the S&P and has really been since May. There's been 2 times or 3 times that we've tested the 21 day or went below it, where I reduced a lot of positions, and then within 2 sessions we were back above it, and then I put them on. So active sequences or swing trades could stay on for a while, or if you're just looking for like a 1 to 3 day trade, which I've caught a lot of those, and move on because it's not a name you really care about, that's different also. So there's no percentage. It's where could it go? Where's the next point of reference? What's resistance? Like, did I think I was going to take Intel go from 40 cents in options to $6? No. Tesla, did I have ideas where we can go and how to navigate my tier system? Yes. But anyway, so I want to just continue here through the roadmap. So with that being said, I have an active and swing trading account going on, and I also have a box account because T3 has computers where they can make my trades bigger or smaller, so they intensify my P&L. So if I have a good day, it makes my good day better. If I have a bad day, it makes my bad day worse. But since I'm such a consistent trader, over the past decades, it adds a lot of revenue to my earnings. So I'm not the guy that needs a trader to walk by and say, oh, look at Red Dog, he's up 60 grand, or 100 grand, or 12 grand, or 6 grand. I'd rather not see the numbers and just do the right trades. And then I have an options account. So the options account is for, binary events. It's for earnings. It's for, when I'm not sure if something's kind of trying to percolate, when it hasn't triggered yet and I'm not sure when it happens. I might have some news or something. So really, these are the 4, I would say, cash flow generating vehicles that I have that I use in order to take money out of the stock market. It's different at all times. When we're trending, I have swing trades on. When we're in volatility below the 21 day, I don't have as many swing trades on. I'm trading more actively, just trying to create cash flow and stay out of the way for market discovery. When I'm doing great, my box makes it better. When I'm doing bad, it puts me more in a hole. And then my options, as you can see from the options, I use them, and sometimes they're great. So that is how I make cash flow and make a living through trading. Okay. So to the Scott Redler side of it, as a 52-year-old, my 401k is started in 2016 because that's when T3 put it together. I wish it was earlier. Didn't happen. It's been there for 9 years. And I max it. So I would suggest you maximize your 401k sacrifice early to have money later. And it's starting to add up. And then it starts to get exponentially. I think the rule is every 7 years it's supposed to double. So always put as much as you can in the 401k besides your trading. If you don't work for a company that has a 401k, make sure if you have all these things and you're making over what your monthly nut is, put money into an IRA or something long term into a cost average S&P fund. 529. My son Chase, he's 17 years old. He might play basketball in college. He might not. I started his 529 when he was 5. I suggest you young parents start it when they're 1. Put it in early. College is expensive. I think I started at age 5. I put $500 a month in. And then at 2020, when I had a really good year, I added like 10 grand, and then I upped it to $1,000 a month. And I think there's like $130,000 in there, which is not enough, for college at $130,000. You got 2 years left, so maybe there'll be 160, which isn't enough. So anyway, but it's something. So I would suggest if you have children, make sure the 529 plan gets funded. So you have to sacrifice. You have to give a certain percentage to your 401k, a certain percentage to your 529 for your kids for college. Let's see. Out of everyone here, who had a 529 for their kids? All of you are in your 50s and kids in college. Did your 529 help you? It did. Lane says it did. Do you wish you put in more? Do you wish you started early? Earlier. I wish I started earlier too. Covered 6 of the 8 years. 8 years. Congratulations. The GI Bill is awesome. That's even better. Yeah. No. That my friend did that, Jeff. By the way, so my friend's daughter went to Maryland. He bought an apartment, and by the third year, after 2 years getting the residency, he was able to get an in-state tuition, and he had an apartment. And after 5 years, it went up. So there are creative ways to save money also, but a 529 plan helps. Maybe. We'll see. If Chase gets a scholarship for basketball, I'm going to give him the money. It'll go towards an apartment or whatever it's called, or a house. But anyway, that money's his. But we'll see how it goes. So we'll get to that in a second. So that's the 529. So then you have the blood in the street account. Ha 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 ha. A lot of people love the blood in the street. Some people just follow me. They don't trade for a living just for when I put my blood in the street account to work. Who's ever followed me on the blood in the street account? Raise your glass. Say, have you ever followed me on the blood in the street account? Ever? Lane has, Dana B has, and Bush has. A lot of people. Blood in the street account has been phenomenal. I'll tell you about the story about the blood in the street account and why it exists. Some people are like, why don't you just put money every single month? I'm like, that's my 401k. I'm like, so this is what happened. My wife, I'm going with my second beer. She worked as a neuropsychologist at UMDNJ. Okay, at UMDNJ. She was very early in her career. She had a great job there, getting paid a 401k, benefits out the yin yang. And then, right around 2012, after being there for about 8 years, she comes to me and says, hey, Scott, I think I want to go in private practice. I'm done schlepping to Newark, having guys spit on my windshield. It's dangerous. I want to start my own practice. I want to be around for Chase, which actually was a pretty bad time for me when it happened, because I think she started in 2012. The market got into like a range, and it was really hard to make money. So she went from making 6 figures to say, hey, I want to build it. But what do I do? UMDNJ is your place? All right, well, her name is Selena Martino, Dr. Martino Redler. She worked with James Hill, who just passed away. I don't know if you know who James Hill is. So it's in Newark. That's, by the way, that's why we're in Newark, in New Jersey. That's why we're in New Jersey. So, I met my wife in college. I was a senior. She was a freshman. I scooped her up. Big man on campus. She was pretty hot. And anyway, we went back and forth for a while till finally, we got together when she was a junior in Loyola, Maryland, in a graduate school. And we made a pact wherever she puts in to get her residency, which it's like a matching program, I would go. So she listed UMDNJ first. I was living in the city. She was in Baltimore. And Miami second, and then Patchogue third. And she got UMDNJ, so we moved to Jersey City. That's how we went from, everyone's like, how'd you go from Long Island to New Jersey? I'm like, that's how I went to New Jersey, because my wife got her residency at UMDNJ at a trauma center in New Jersey. So that's how I wound up in New Jersey, for those of you who were asking, or thought, or who cared. Some of you don't care. I'm sorry. I'm on the microphone. You chill out. Anyway, the Hoboken was fun. We used to go to Hoboken a lot for dinner. There was a great Thai place in Hoboken that we went. There's a lot of good places there. Anyway, I don't think it's the greatest town on earth, but it was fine. It was okay. So anyway, we started in Jersey City, then we went on in Washington Street, then we went to Port Liberté, which is a great community where Chase was born, on the water. I used to take a ferry right to downtown to One State Street where I was in the city. And we did that for a while. Before we had to make a decision for Chase, he was 4 years old. We lived in a, we actually have, it's a whole nother story. I was probably the only person who lost money in real estate because I bought my one bedroom apartment in Port Liberté, I think in 2005 for 400 and a quarter. It went to 550, and then it went down, during the financial crisis when Chase was born, which was tough. And my wife had postpartum depression. Went down to like 300 and change. So anyway, yeah, Chase is mono right now. It's friggin' horrible. I'm so sad, but don't get me in tears now. I don't want to talk about that. So that's how we wound up in New Jersey. So back to the story where I have diarrhea of the mouth. Selena in 2012 said, I want to go in private practice. I want to be home for Chase. I want to build a business. I was like, sure, great, do it. So what happened was she had to take her 401k, which wasn't a whole lot of money. It was a decent amount of money. It was I think she had I'm going to tell you straight up numbers. She had $120,000 accumulated from 2006ish to 2012 because she put in money every single month into a 401k from 2007 to 2008, had a great average cost. So she had like 120 grand in her retirement account. So in 2012, the stock market was back already at all-time highs. I was like, holy sugar honey iced tea. What happens if we test the lows? What happens if we do this? So and I said, could we transfer it over? And she's like, her person said she can't take it out of Bright House, and because she'll never be able to get a job with the state where you get benefits. So we had to keep it there. So that's when I put it in. I put it in a fixed rider in 2012-13 at 120 grand or whatever that was. So anyway, I kept it there because we went from 6666 in the S&P, who traded through the financial crisis. We were back at all-time highs. We were like S&P 1400. I'm like, I'm putting that in cash. I'm going to wait just in case. Besides everything else I was doing. So all of a sudden, that's what created the blood in the street account. So it was sitting in a fixed rider from like 2014 to 2018. Finally, in 2018, remember 2018? 2018 was the first real correction phase. That was during the taper tantrum. So let me I'm gonna keep this here. I'm gonna get here. So let's go real quickly to the chart. You guys like charts like me. So let's go. I'm gonna put it on here. Let's go SPYs. So in 2018, which I'm gonna go right here. Okay. We go to the monthly. So in 2018, this was your first 20% correction after this entire move. So right here. So I was like, okay, I got 120,000 sitting in cash, or it was like 130 by then. So I missed a lot of the market move. Who would have thunk it? From the low of 2009, we were in some crazy trend until then. So that's when I put 3 tiers to work into the blood in the street account when it first started, and 2018, and wound up going almost all in during this process. Then I think I got out like somewhere around here, and then the pandemic happened. It was in cash, thank goodness. Into that I went into like 3 tiers. So now and I tweeted about it, and this is when I started the 630 Club right here. And I think I got out of all of it, to be honest, somewhere around here. So I missed that part of it. And then during this I put it back to work and then get out of it, put it back to work and then get out of it, and then I put it back to work. So P.S. It's not a huge account, but the blood in the street account that's outside everything went from 120, it's to like 3.25. Not so bad. That's hers. No market risk there. It's back in a fixed rider, and it's missing this portion of it. But my 401k, my 529, and her 403b. So what happened? What was good is when she did leave, they set up a 403b for her where she was able to put, money because she's in private practice every single month. So anyway, that a fixed rider is like you get an interest rate. Like right now, it's sitting in 3.8% interest rate with no risk until we get some kind of 5, 6, 7% correction again. So a fixed rider is like, so it's a different. It's like not like a bond or whatever. It's a fixed rider. So the blood in the street account. So many times, a lot of people are like, "There's a bug." Like, when are you gonna do it? When are you gonna do it? It has to start at 5% or more off the highs, and usually the oscillator. You guys know what the oscillator is? Who loves my oscillator? Who loves the oscillator? The oscillator, when it's like minus 80, that's usually when the blood in the street account goes to work. On that point, also for people who are swing traders and people following me on the Alpha team, they love it when I'm like, guys, I'm putting the blood in the street account to work. Everyone starts selling puts. Everyone starts buying calls, because usually we get like a friggin', a really 100 handle of rally, because that's how oversold we are when I put her account to work, so people can make money in their cash account and people can make money trading. So anyway, Fidelity is paying 4.2%. All right. I know. Well, everyone wishes they can get 6% now. So let me take this out again. So let me move on. So that's the blood in the street account. It's been put to work, I'm not exactly sure, 18 times, and 18 times I've carved out about 5% each time, and now it's sitting in cash, waiting again. Not cash, a fixed rider at, I think, 4.1%. So anyway, how sick is that, by the way? Let's take a look at this again. I don't know if any of you guys remember, but remember the decade of pain? I remember this decade where, first of all, this is when I was doing a lot of work with Kramer. I was doing his off the charts. And you had the roaring 80s and the go-go 90s. And then you needed a decade to consolidate. And look what happened when it broke above this, 155 to 213, then did it again. And oh my goodness, look where we are now. It's a little scary. I get it. I remember these ascending channels that broke to the downside, descending channels to the upside, descending channels. I remember there was like 1,000% of movement, but we went nowhere. So did most stocks. You have to consolidate. Stocks have to consolidate. And here we are right now. Yeah, look how long this went for. But I'm not going to put some Fibonacci retracements and some extensions and this and that. It's not the time and place for it. But wow. What was this? This was 480 to 600. That's 200 points. So from 600 we can get to 8,000, or maybe. Yeah. Anyway, so that's your monthly chart. So that's the blood in the street account. So a lot of people, again, use me for any which way it adds value to their lives. And then I want to tell you about life insurance. I don't sell life insurance. I'm just going to tell you what happened to me. So I was 35 years old, making pretty good money by that point. 35. How many years ago was that? I'm 52. I'm a little brain damaged right now. Whatever it was, 7. Okay, so what year was that? Come on, you guys are my think tank. Wow, so in 2008, that's when I did that. So, because Chase was born in 2008, so I think it was like 2010ish. It probably started, because when I'm 55, I will be invested in it for 20 years. So anyway, my friend went into this company called Strategies for Wealth. So he came up to me and said, "Hey, Red Dog, you have Chase, you need a whole life insurance policy." I was 35. I'm like, "Well, educate me." He's like, "Well, you have whole life insurance where you're guaranteed it if you pay it every month, and it accrues money. It's an alternative asset outside your 401k, outside the blood in the street account, outside the 403b, outside your 529. It's just something not correlated to the market. You need it. You need another retirement vehicle and a real death benefit." I'm like, "Well, how much do I need?" So he said, "You need $1 million. Some people think I'm worth more than I am, or this and that. I'm a 5 million plus guy, or whatever it is. Then I took out $1 million policy on myself, whole life, and $1 million term. So a term is an accident policy. I took out a 30-year term for Selena, which was very cheap, just in case something happened to her. And then I took out a whole life insurance. So my premium that I had to pay was $1,450. So $1,450 a month. $1,450. Listen to this. I'm trying to tell you what some of you are 35. $1,450 a month. So he gave me a whole table showing me how much I would have in cash value when I'm in it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Well, I'm almost in it for 20 years. So when I'm 55 in 2 years from now, after putting $14.50 a month in it, there will be almost $400,000 cash value in there. More than my wife's blood in the street account. So $400,000 plus $1 million death benefit. And at 20 years, if I didn't want to put any more money in, it would pay for itself, but it wouldn't continue to build at the same rate. And I'm hoping I can continue to keep putting money in. I don't see why I shouldn't be able to. I'm just saying, for those of you who trade for a living, you might say, hey, I'm done with my $1,400 a month. That's great. But I would have spent that $1,400 a month on a vacation. I would have spent it on, a bigger, who knows what the hell I would have spent it on, dinners. Instead, I put it there, and in 2 years from now, it'll be like 400,000 cash value. So if Chase gets an offer from Yale or Princeton, which gives no money and costs $100,000 a year, how much did I tell you? I told you I had, I'll have $150,000 in his 529. I'll probably take out $250 from the cash value, which will then pay for his Ivy League education to go to Yale, which is very interested in him, or Princeton. So the sacrifice was kind of like another 529 plan. But the question with that's going to be like, okay, so if he gets an offer from Yale for $100,000 a year, do I do that, or does he go to BU, which is in the Patriot League, or Bucknell, which is in the Patriot League, which is D1, that might give him a full ride? We're not at that bridge yet. That's another thing we'll probably be talking about in a while. Yeah. So So I have one son. So no matter what, he's 4 generations from Poland. My grandparents were in Poland, and left Warsaw right before the Nazis came in and killed everyone in Warsaw. They got taken to a Siberian work camp where my dad was born, and put in an oven. And when the Liberation Army came and and he went back to Poland, everyone was dead. But the moral of that story is my grandparents came here to Brooklyn on the boat, like you see in the movies, with 50 cents in their pockets. And then my dad had to go to Vietnam, so when he came back, he had to get a working job. He always wanted to be a policeman, but instead he became a hairstylist. So very blue collar. So I'm the first generation of, building wealth, and so now Chase is in a different generation, where he has a lot of wealth built for him, but he still has to work his ass off. Right. So anyway, so I would suggest if you're young, in your 30s, and you have children, start some kind of whole life insurance. And I know it's more expensive than term, but it'll add up, and you'll have an alternative asset. You'll sacrifice, and it'll be something you have later in life. So that goes to here too. And then long-term care I don't have. A lot of people are saying, hey, you're 53 years old, you should start putting money away for long-term care. God forbid something happens to you when you're 75. These places cost 10 grand a month for you, for your wife, and it's something else. I know. Listen, nothing wrong being a hairstylist. My dad was a hairstylist. He had to make money. My dad was on food stamps when I was a young baby, before, when he came back from after Vietnam. Anyway, and my parents have 50 cents in that, and my grandparents have 50 cents. So, that's why sometimes I get a little upset about, how things aren't fair and equal. If you work hard, things are fair and equal, in my humble opinion. So I will say there's another type of insurance. One more, and then I'm going to be done with this. It's called the gift of life. So 3 years ago, I took out a policy for Chase. He has no idea it's there. $350,000 whole life insurance policy for him. He's the most insurable now. God forbid something happens in his 20s and 30s. I took it out now. I'm paying his premium. He has no idea. I took it out when he's 15. When he's 25, it'll be 10 years vested. There'll be a cash value there, and he'll have a policy that I give to him as a present at age 25, a present. And he can either continue to pay it, or it's funding itself, and he could be, and it's just something that he has. It's called the gift of life. I started it when he was 15. He's 17. Gift of life policy. It's very solid. It's like a bunch of my friends do it. It's another sacrifice. You're putting in your 401k, you're putting in your 529, you're putting it in your whole life. gift of life. It's just something that I was like, you know what? I put $300 a month in it, and it goes through direct deposit. And when he's 25, it's vested, and there'll be like 45 grand in there for him, and and he can continue to pay it and up it, and he's grandfathered in at the health he was at 15 versus, God forbid, something's wrong with him in his 20s or 30s. So I'm just saying, these are all the things that I've learned from starting trading as a day trader in 1998, developing all of these accounts as a trader, and then as an adult, building all these accounts that are still building at age 52. I'll be 53 next year, and I'm going. I feel like a lot of people like to follow, like to be in my community because, listen, I could have left and been in a hedge fund. I've been offered a lot of different times to be a technician for major hedge funds, and you're working 20 hours a day. I'm in the city. I'm not home. I'm not watching Chase's basketball. I'm doing different things. I probably could have made more money, but I'm very happy in this. This is what I do. The bar mitzvahs help me get in the media. I'm not uncomfortable on a microphone and develop the personality. My ADHD helps me with my levels and the stocks and all my stuff. My sauna, my steam room, and the cold barrel, which is things I did starting when I was a wrestler and an Ironman. Everything I'm doing right now is who I am. So could I be making 5 million, 10 million or more as a hedge fund guy? But that's just not who I am. So this is where I live, and this is what I'm doing, and I'm trying to do it better. I'm trying to be able to do all my little buckets better. Some people are like, well, why don't you just triple your size? Quadruple it. Like if I quadruple my size, I might be a little stressed. I might not be able to communicate to the virtual trading floor. I might not be able to do my note. I'd be staring at positions. I might not be able to teach. I might be able to leave my desk, go to Fox Business. So I'm doing what I'm comfortable so I could fulfill all the things that I need to do as the founding partner of T3, the chief strategist at T3, a trader at T3, and the founder of Red Dog Mindset. So, and it all moves along. So anyway, this is 30 plus years of experience where I feel like I could help you learning curve if you think about these things that you could do and start to, add on and take a picture of. So now I'm going to just answer questions as I see them. All right? So we're not going to go through charts and this and that. I want to answer some questions. Scott, any thoughts around the necessary evil tax prep? I have for me, what happens is like just say I make $100,000 in a quarter. I get a percentage of that, and then I put 45% of it into, and I pay estimated taxes. So I get a check. I think it's a 1099 for my quarterly. As a chief strategist, it's a W-2, so they take it out. So I'm not exactly sure, your tax structure. I appreciate that. Please explain VWAP. Okay, VWAP is the average price of the day. So every time I'm like, oh, the SPY's VWAP is here, it's $3 above, that means a lot of the computers are programmed to buy the average cost of the day. So if it's $2 or $3 above at 11 o'clock because of emotion, I'm just like, be careful buying it up here because if the demand falls, it's probably going to come back to the VWAP where there's computer generated buying and selling during the course of that day. So the VWAP is very important because sales traders have all lost their jobs. They don't add a lot of value. It used to be like, hey, buy me 50,000 shares of Amazon and get me the average of the day and pay yourself 2 cents. Now they put it in a machine, buying what they want to buy, and they program it to the VWAP. So you have to know where the VWAP is. Sometimes it gets a lot above it. You can't use it as the end-all be-all, but sometimes when it's extended from it, you need to know where it is so you don't add at the wrong time. When you buy options, what percentage of your trading money do you risk per? I usually do $3,000 to $5,000 in an option. A real big option play for me is $10,000, to be honest. Sometimes like Amazon, I have more than that because I'm going out to October 3rd. But for like a options earnings play, I usually risk like 5 to make 15 or 20, something like that, or 3 to make 7 or 8. So please explain how the oscillator you look at when. So listen, when the oscillator is plus 70, I'm being careful. That means we're in a very overbought market. I'm careful buying new positions. So sometimes I'll have a lot of positions and people are like, hey, Red Dog, where's the oscillator? Like, holy shit, it's plus 70. I better be careful here because chances are it always reverts back to neutral. Same way when an overbought starts at plus 40, so plus 70, you're on borrowed time. Doesn't mean you can't go to plus 90, but percentage-wise, it doesn't usually happen that way. Same when you're minus 40, and you're oversold, you got to be careful being short because if things are that oversold, they could bounce real easy. And then when you're plus 70, minus 70, that's usually when the blood in the street account goes to work, and that's usually when I start selling puts and start looking for red dog reversal areas. It's a proprietary oscillator. There's a McClellan oscillator you could use. We have a combination. Dan Zanger has an oscillator. There's a bunch of them. They're all typically similar. You just need to know where the threshold is, and whenever it's truly, really, like people use RSI. Like when the RSI is 90, you better be careful buying it. Like somebody's like, "Hey, Red Dog, look at SanDisk." That knocks some socks and some teeth out. But anyway, so it's very similar to a lot of things. I use it as a coincidental indicator. What's a coincidental indicator? I only use it at extremes. It's not something I look at every day. Like today, someone's like, "Where's the oscillator?" I'm like, plus 26. It doesn't mean anything right now. It's based on a summation of all the indices together. If the 8 EMA is below the 21 EMA, do you? No. Sometimes what happens is, first you reclaim the 200 day, and then, it all depends. Like here. So let's want to see something. Let's go to the SPYs for a second. Again, it's not a perfect science. It's really when you're trending. So let's go here for a sec. Let's talk about moving averages. So if you remember right here, okay, let's go back to when we put the V bottom in. So like basically when a new trend or sequence starts, it's got to prove that it could do certain things. So here, where's the 200 day? The 200 day, and it wound up bringing up higher. So here when you had this little red, by the way, this was a red dog reversal bottom right here. And then here, let's see, where's the daily? This is daily. So right here, if you waited for it to really get above and stay above the 8 and 21 day, truly you had to wait till right here, which was April 30th. Obviously, we're active traders. Obviously, we trade a lot more than this because here you had your V bottom, came up to prior resistance, made a higher low. I have that here, a higher low. So the V, remember I said, hey, well, it'll turn into a W, turn into a W. I didn't wait to start trading until here. This was just your confirmation that we traded above this descending trend line here, and now you're above the 821 day. Now's your time to buy a lot of leading stocks for a new trend. Pretty much right here. So April 30th, and the bottom happened, April 7th. So about 3 weeks later was really when the new rally, according to technicians, was born. But obviously there was a lot of trading well before that. And you could have done here too. This was a gap up and never filled that gap. So that helped start that. And then from there, we've literally been above the 821 day for the majority of the time. And twice or 3 times you could have taken your risk down. Right here, it looked like it might have be done, and it wasn't. It was a red dog reversal sell. So even if you took risk down when it broke the 8 day, right here you could have put it back on, then at a gap above resistance, and then look at that move. This candle could have got you to have risk off, and then you weren't in that move for that. I remember that very well. We held here. Then we filled the gap, and then right here we kind of resumed it again, so we weren't below the 21 day again, and now here we are, where we are. So the 8 and 21 day, it's not the end all be all, but it just shows you, the actual health and the overall trend of a lot of things. What are your key VIX? There's no friggin' key VIX anything. The VIX is a broken instrument, and every now and then you can make some money as a hedge, but just because the VIX is low, you're not shorting stocks, you're not in the rally. When the VIX is low, that means things are trending, and there's a little bit of complacency, so buy some insurance 3 months out. Anyway, I would not be using the VIX for anything except for at extremes. So walk about the synthetic short. All right, so that's interesting because right now, I'm synthetically short the SPYs at 664, at 665 because the SPYs closed at 663.50. So here's the SPYs, closed at 663.50. I sold premium here to collect if we were, and that's the way, like remember like before the Fed I had puts on and I sold some premium to help pay for the puts. That if we went lower I would keep the premium and I could make some money in the puts. If we went higher, I could still make money and maybe make money in the calls that I sold if I do it at the right strike. So I made money on my selling a premium, and I made money in my longs because I picked the right strikes and I managed them. So sometimes, synthetic shorts are good, but you can get in a lot of trouble. I'll tell you, I got into a lot of trouble. I'll tell you when I see when I got into trouble being synthetically short. I'll show you a really bad time in Red Dog's trading move. So I don't know if you guys remember. It was right here. Where was it? No, it wasn't here. Where was that? Oh, here it was, right here. This was last year, right? Last summer. So last summer, if you guys remember, we had this V bottom. This was 2024 in August. Remember that August 5th bottom? Remember Japan, this, that, whatever it was. I did really well. I was out of the way. We were below the in-20 when they blow all the moving averages right down here. And then we came up to right here where if we were going to be that weak, we should have been, we should have been rejected. Instead, I started selling 540 calls. Like right here, I think I started selling 540, 541, 545. I thought there was no way we were going to get through this whole big area of congestion. And I was selling synthetic SPYs, getting short. Saying, but it's like shorting the SPYs. You just don't realize how many you're selling. So I started selling the SPY short premium in here, getting synthetically short. And I think this was like the CPI or PPI. And I got blown out of the water into this move. Who would have thought we would have went like this all the way back to here? So right around here, I covered, and I lost like $250,000 in that trade, and I was like 6 figures in the hole. And then, thank goodness, this was what, September 11th-ish, if I remember. I got back in my active sequence, and then I regrouped. But I got synthetically short here, not realizing that a few hundred calls is like being short a lot of friggin' SPYs, and that blew me out of the water. So I would say, be careful synthetically short. Could really hurt you. Scott, how do you control your emotions when trading? I feel like the preparation and knowing I'm doing the right thing keeps my emotions in check. By exercising keeps my emotion in check. I started Red Dog Mindset, which is basically the pregame of the pregame, where I'm in the sauna at 5:20 and I'm doing a workout, and I'm doing more, just not really trading. There's no charts. There's no TVs. I'm in the sauna. I'm listening to a playlist, which I do every day anyway. I just package it to give to traders and people around the world if they want to do a workout with me in the sauna. And that's how I rinse my day, get my mind right, and think about my positions, think about what I'm looking to do. By that point, when I get in the 520, I'm already also, I've already been up. I've drank my water. I've looked at what's happening around the world. I know what the thing is. So I'm kind of thinking about everything, and I'm kind of talking about it as we do a 20-minute workout and sweat before I go in my ice barrel. And then take a shower and then get here by 6:10 to do the 6:30 club. So really, I control my emotions by just being prepared and knowing if I'm doing the right thing or not. The worst thing I get emotional about is if I know the right thing and I don't do it. So if you do the right thing and you listen to your inner voice, you'll keep your emotions in check. In order to hear your inner voice, you better be prepared so you can see it. I just take a multivitamin. I take a multivitamin every day, Centrum Plus for 50-year-olds. I'm not on any medicine. I try not to take any medicine. I had heart surgery a year ago. Within 3 months, I'm off everything. I'm not saying you can't take medicine, and I don't believe in medicine, but I'm not saying Ozempic is good for you or bad for you, but I would think, if you limit your carbs and your sugar and exercise and control your mind, chances are you might need to take a pill, and that might last a little longer than taking a pill. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that. How do I deal with losses? Same thing. Exercise. Think about what I did wrong so I don't do it again. Listen, boxers get knocked down, don't they? They get knocked down. They have 10 seconds to get up. If you get knocked down as a trader, it's not about 10 seconds. You could stay down. You could think about what you did wrong. Did you short something because you thought it was up too high? Did you not listen to the indicators? Did you not, respect your stops? So when you get knocked down and you have a loss, you could figure out why and how it happened so it doesn't happen to you again. And if you take accountability and say, hey, that was my fault, not the market, and sometimes it's predatory and it's the market, or you would say, hey, I would do that again 10 more times. It's just unfortunate. That happens too. But if you did it wrong and you change it, then you can make adjustments with that. And then when you're in a big hole, like I was in a big hole that summer, you're not trying to get back out of the hole. What you're trying to do, remember I played that song, I played Creed when it has, one punch, one round, move forward, one punch, one round, move forward. I was like, one day, one trade, move forward. Positive, book it, move forward, book it. And then all of a sudden, you feel better, you put on more size, you remember what you did to make money, and then you're out of your hole and you feel good. And then you build the self-esteem and confidence to be able to get out of any hole. The best thing ever is getting in a hole. Because when you get out of it and you move forward, you could do it at any point, at any moment. Who is the original lead singer of Creed? Creed, like the you guys want a Creed song? Give me a Creed song. It's time for a song. It's time for a song and a drink. All right. Can You Take Me Higher? Alexa, play Can You Take Me Higher?
Higher by Creed from Apple Music.
All right. I'm going to run through some charts while you listen. Okay? We're going to go over some charts that I'll be looking at tomorrow. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to point to things and see in your mind if you figure out what I'm saying and what I'm thinking.
There's a hunger, a longing to escape from the life I live when I'm away. So let's go there, let's make our escape. Come on, let's go there. Let's ask, can we stay? Can you take me higher? To appreciate those nights and those dreams. But my friend, I'd sacrifice all those nights if I could make the earth and my dreams the same. The only difference is to let love replace all I hate. So let's go there, let's make our escape. Come on, let's go there. Let's ask, can we stay? Can you take me higher? To a place where line and sea. Can you take me higher? To a place where gold.
Lots of higher lows there.
So let's go there. Yeah, let's go there. Come on, let's go there. Let's ask, can we stay?
By the way, I always put highs and lows, points of reference. I need to show them every single time I do this stuff. Everywhere. Every morning. So where's the Alpha team on this? Yeah, I could go through probably 100 stocks and show you like kind of what I'm thinking about, what I'm looking at. You guys all know it, but the way you do it is you do it in a way where you're happy, you're feeling relaxed. Like I could probably stay here for a half an hour, listen to music, and do 30 charts. That's what I do in the morning, except for I'm not drinking a beer like on a Thursday night. I don't know if it's an A plus setup, but it looks pretty good. It's more of a laggard, but it seems like it can get through here. Remember, we had that first trade here. You know, I think you could buy $50 calls out 2 weeks. They're probably pretty cheap. Looks good. Amazon's a pain, but my gut tells me that there's some kind of news, something's going to come and give this a new narrative. And this wedge is going to break to the upside. You just got to go out a little further. It's lagging. It's hard. You know, Meta is, you know, no power, but it's still hanging here. This is like you had to be long versus 743, not really add on strength. But this is what I do every morning. I sit and I go through and I go through and I go through it. Yeah. To use over, I just use the daily closes. I don't use overnight. I probably could. I don't use any, I don't put any emphasis on what happened overnight in the names, whether it was at Robinhood or wherever it is. I just use the charts from 9:30 to 4. Some people do, some people don't. That's part of my whole process. I like this song. Living on the edge. All right. So, can you explainify the reason for identify? Because that's a trend. Higher lows and higher highs are a trend, aren't they? That means something's going like this. That's what you want. You want to be able to sell some, buy some, trade through there, buy some more, sell some, buy some, trade through there, and that's what makes a great active sequence. If you find an active sequence you could stay with, you know, you can make so much money, a real one. Where did you learn the basic of at day tech? You know what you know, The Active Day Trader was a book. Tools and Tactics of the Master Day Trader was a great book. I did pristine bar by bar analysis. I went to West Coast, spent time with Daniel Zanger, and I also took Willie O'Neill's IBD classes. So I've done a lot of education, you know, during 2001 to 2003 or 4-ish. Yeah, of course you did, Amber. I watch the inside market. I like to see what's moving. I don't look at order flow, but I could see the speed of what's happening on the inside market when it's leaving with levels. So on my 6 screens, I have one of them that has everything. Yeah, I love Can't Slim. You have to. There you go. Cheers to everyone who's been in the markets and having success. I would suggest How to Make Money in Stocks. Willie O'Neill's a good book. Just shows you pattern recognition, teaches you their style. You know, I think there's a lot more tactical books out there. I think Brian Shanahan's good. His VWAP book is good. Teaches you about VWAP. I think Douglas is good. Trading in the Zones for psychology. There's definitely a lot of good ebooks also that get really into the nuts and bolts of trading. There's so many out there. And a lot of them are all similar. It's who you trust and who you want. Like I have a lot of ebooks. You know, I bet you Amber, if you want to sign up, she could probably send you 10 hours of videos from Redler Ultimate Access. Redler Ultimate Access, I did 2 different times. I spent 10 hours training and doing videos of everything I've ever learned in my life. You know, but going to dinner Friday, 5 hours of video on Saturday, 4 hours on Sunday, packaged it all up. We had it done professionally. You could probably ask Amber to put in your package. You can get 10 hours of education, which is probably better than any book. Goes over the tier system, day count rules, moving averages, portfolio approach, tactical approach. Everything you would want is probably in those videos. And people spent a lot of money to come for the weekend. Oh, is it? Everything you want is in there. It's like my 30 years of tactics rolled up into one. It really is cool. And you know what I want to do? I'd really like to do some kind of retreat, you know, in the next, I talked about it before, 3, 6, 9 months where we go to Lake Tahoe or go somewhere where, We do some fitness, we have some fun, and we do some classroom stuff. Maybe a place that has I can get a few saunas and ice barrels and show you what I do in the morning. And I've seen some of these places in Minnesota and the Midwest that they carve out these circles in the lake, and they have these cylinder saunas where you could do four-person to a sauna. And I feel like I could do something there for like 15 people, something like that. If you look on Instagram, look up sauna camps. I'm definitely going. It's just a matter of anyone else. Costa Rica is more of a vacation, but look into sauna camps. Google it. You see, it's pretty freaking cool. I'm actually going to this event. If you're in New York, New Jersey, and you want to go, I'm going September 27th. I met this guy, Kenny Santucci. He owns the franchise Strong New York, and he's doing an event where there are 12 different classes. The biggest fitness gurus in the world are going, and I'm going to go. I'm a sponsor. I'm speaking only a little bit for 20 minutes about Win the Morning, Win the Day, which is from Red Dog Mindset, but looks pretty cool, and he's going to go also. Anyway, Costa Rica, we could do Costa Rica. Do people come back to your room because they struggle on their own? No, I think people come to my room because they don't want to trade alone. They could go from good to great in our room. They can go from their performance to better performance. 1,000 eyeballs are better than 2, right? Yeah, I know when I go teach, when I was in Ukraine or Uzbekistan or China, I feel naked, naked if I don't have the virtual trading floor up, if I don't know what the news is, if I can't ask people questions. It's like we're our own, desk. And every now and then I have no time. I'm like, what just came out over here? Within boom, someone's posting what came out. I could ask any question. I could ask for a calculation. So the virtual trading floor becomes your community and your family. Most people don't come because they're struggling. They come because they want to do better. Some do, I guess, when they start, but typically, virtual trading floor is not expensive. But you need to be making money. This is for people who want to make money, and it costs money to make money sometimes. But again, people get one trade, 2 trades, and it pays for their year, and then they're in there for free. But anyway, so Ronald says my performance has gone up tremendously the past few years that I've been here. That's good to hear. Parrot Garrett says it makes the day go by faster also. It's true. There's a lot of things that the virtual trading floor is for. It's for routine, it's for process, it's for tactic, it's for ideas, it's for news, it's for a community. So it feels like again, when I was in One State Street, we had 20,000 square feet. We had 6 rows of desks, hundreds of people. The only people I talked to are the 4 people to my left. I don't have hundreds of people here in Short Hills, but I have hundreds of people through here, through there. It's friggin' awesome. So it's the new version of sitting on a huge wirehouse desk or trading desk where everyone's calling out stuff. When I was on Broad Street, people would stand up and be like, eBay's going through Instinet, triple X. Now it's everyone on the VTF calling out levels and this and that. Yeah, forgive yourself, me. It happens. You're up 6K? That's not so bad. Anyway, unfortunately, Chase is mono, and I got to get home. My wife's been taking care of him all day. Sucks for him. He's came in peaking. I'm gonna have to teach him how to be positive. He's 180 dunking, 33 points a game for AAU, and then all of a sudden he got mono. Now he can't play basketball for 4 weeks. He's gonna lose some weight, and he really feels sick. He's got his throat is sick and things swollen. He went to the doctor today. So anyway, I got to get home and take care of my boy. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you for taking the time and tuning in. Cheers to Thursday happy hour. I'm glad everyone's doing great. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't let your highs get too high, your lows get too low. Talk to Amber and Monica. They've been doing this a long time. They'll work out a really good deal for you. What I would do is, I don't know what the deals are, but I would suggest if you really just want to do a trial, you might as well just do the 4th quarter. I don't know if they have that, but you should probably do the 4th quarter and next year together, lump it in. 15 months, to try and put yourself in a better position to make a lot more money, have some fun, and learn your process. I'm telling them the truth. I think if you said, hey, I don't want to do the next year, I just want to do the next 3 months, I'm sure they would work out something for you. And if you wanted to do the year, and maybe they'll throw on the 3 months, you probably could talk them into that too. But those are just the thoughts. Please advise on the Hood calls. So Hood I just bought into the close with options. Um, my friends who trade the rebalances said that it's big to buy because of the S&P inclusion. So I figured, hey, if Hood gets through, if there's really Hood to good to buy, there's a little bit of a short position. You know, doesn't look as good. Maybe it gets through here and gives you. I've seen a lot of these imbalanced buys where they go like $5, $6 on a Friday because it's thin and there's shorts and people don't know what's going on. So I bought the 124s into some weakness. I don't love that it came from here, but I figured it's worth a try. So, a little $2,500 in the wind to maybe make 5 to 10. You know, I don't do more than that on things like that. So that's what I did with Hood. It's not a core focus. It's just one trade amongst many, and it's not for everybody. We'll see. Sometimes those kind of things work. It's a lotto type trade. Do I have a life membership? That I don't know, Max. I don't think so. You probably can get 2 years and a quarter for cheaper than 1 year and a quarter if you really want to commit. But we'll see. By the way, tomorrow is going to be busy. I don't know what we have, Amber, but I'm going to do the morning the way I always do the morning. There's no 6:30 club on Fridays. There's no 25:20 on Fridays. I'll do a morning call for everyone here. We'll see what the futures are doing. We'll manage our process. Um, and then I think I'm going to do a StreamYard at 2 o'clock. At 2 o'clock where I just put everyone in there, you know, virtual trading floor, whether all access, public Twitter people that maybe not be involved. And that'll be the closing of the open house. And then, we'll trade the close and we'll either part our ways or we'll be a family. You're family anyway. Listen, if you don't want to come in now and you don't have the money, I get it. But if you have the money and you've been here for a bunch of days, I don't see why you wouldn't or how you couldn't. And if you don't, I don't hold it against you either. There are guys that try and piecemeal things together, but I feel like you could, if you settle in and you know who is good at what and what people, what their sector is, what their expertise is, you get to know me a little bit better. You understand what I'm really focusing on, when I'm focusing on it, and you create your own process. You could do this for a long time. You could probably do it for 30 years like me, and a lot of people on here have been doing it 20, 30 years. And I still feel like I could do it better, and I'm going to try and do it better. And we're all going to do it together. And I appreciate you all for spending the last hour and 15 minutes with me. So cheers. One more time. Here's to technical analysis in stock markets that unite continents. Here's to a routine and a process you have to do every day, otherwise you're not going to be successful. Here's to loving your routine and your process, otherwise you won't do it every day. Do what you love, and if you wake up every day and you can't get out of bed and you're pressing that snooze alarm 4 times, you're doing something wrong. All right, my dogs, I'll see you in the morning.